Candace too, because she's given us a bunch of books to give out at the raffle. Every month we have a free raffle. And free refreshments, free everything. So we're really grateful to her for doing that, and also for coming and doing the welcome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this scarf means a lot to me. A poet on tour from India gave it to me. And she said, every sequin is a poet of the world. Wow. So I either wear it or try to put it somewhere. So thanks to her, that's really great. And now we come to El Mundo de la Poesía. We come to Tony Antonias, who's our official reclamador, community advocate and supporter of many groups, including world poetry. And the story behind it is I grew up in Costa Rica, and in Costa Rica, the reclamadors are like royalty. They start every party off, they start every event off. Some of them do poems, some of them tell stories, some of them crack jokes. So we have our own official reclamador, and here he is, Tony Antonias.
Thank you very kindly for that auspicious introduction.
Brief but auspicious.
This evening I would like to do a work by one of my very, very favorite poets. She is still, to me, one of the finest poets that ever lived in our time, E. Pauline Johnson.
Remember we had a special program for her here. Yeah, that was great.
And I've chosen from her White Wampum series a poem she called The Cattle Thief. They were coming across the prairie, they were galloping hard and fast, for the eyes of those desperate riders had sighted their man at last. Sighted him off to eastward, where the Cree encampment lay, where the cottonwoods fringed the rivers, miles and miles away. Mistake him? Never. Mistake him? The famous Eagle Chief? That terror to all the settlers, that desperate cattle thief? That monstrous, fearless Indian who lorded it over the plain, who thieved and raided and scouted, who rode like a hurricane, but they've tracked him across the prairie. They followed him hard and fast, for those desperate English settlers have sighted their man at last. Up they wheeled to the teepees, all their British blood aflame, bent on bullets and bloodshed, bent on bringing their game. But they searched in vain for the cattle thief. That lion had left his lair, and they cursed like a troop of demons, for the women only were there. The sneaking Indian coward, they hissed, he hides while yet he can. He'll come in the night for cattle, but he's scared to face a man. Never! And up from the cottonwoods rang the voice of Eagle Chief. And right out into the open stepped unarmed the cattle thief. Was that the game that they had coveted? Scarcely 50 years had rolled over that fleshless, hungrous flame, starved to the bone and old. Over that wrinkled, tawny skin, unfed by the warmth of blood, over those hungry, hollow eyes that glared for the sight of food. He turned like a hunted lion. I know not fear, said he, and the words outleapt from his shrunken lips in the language of the Cree. I'll fight you, whiteskins, one by one. I'll kill you all, he said. But the threat was scarcely uttered ere a dozen balls of lead whizzed through the air about him like a shower of metal rain. And the gaunt old Indian cattle chief dropped dead on the open plain. And that band of cursing settlers gave one triumphant yell and rushed like a pack of demons on the body that writhed and fell. Cut the fiend up into inches, throw his carcass on the plain, let the wolves eat the accursed Indian. He'd have treated us the same. A dozen hands responded, a dozen knives gleamed high. But the first stroke was arrested by a woman's strange, wild cry, and out into the open, with a courage past belief, she dashed and spread her blanket o'er the corpse of the cattle thief. And the words outleaped from her shrunken lips in the language of the Cree. If you mean to touch that body, you must cut your way through me. And that band of cursing settlers dropped backward one by one, for they knew that an Indian woman roused was a woman to let alone. And then she raved in a frenzy that they scarcely understood, raved of the wrongs she had suffered since her earliest babyhood. Stand back, you whiteskins, touch that dead man to your shame. You have stolen my father's spirit, but his body I only claim. You have killed him, but you shall not dare to touch him now he's dead. You have cursed and called him a cattle thief, though you robbed him first of bread. Robbed him and robbed my people. Look there at the shrunken face, starved with a hollow hunger, we owe to you and your race. What have you left to us of land? What have you left of game? What have you brought but evil and curses since you came? How have you paid us for our gain? How paid us for our land? By a book, to save our souls from the sins you brought in your other hand. Go back to your new religion. We never have understood your robbing an Indian's body and mocking his soul with food. Go back with your new religion and find, if find you can, the honest man you have ever made from out a starving man. You say your cattle are not ours, your meat is not our meat. When you pay for the land you live in, we'll pay for the meat